This is the Jillian Greyse Show, Vibrational Architect. I teach the discipline of redesigning the internal patterns that shape your love, your relationships, and the life you quietly know you were meant to live. Whether you're moving through familiar emotional cycles or you're a high achiever who senses there's more available to you, you're in the right place. This is where people learn to master the architecture of their lives and release the patterns holding them back from their inner blueprint. Each episode ends with a guided transmission to anchor the vibration we're working with so you can fully step into becoming the architect of your own life. Join me, Jillian Greyse, as we pull back the layers and rebuild the vibration you were always meant to live from. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode of The Jillian Greyse Show. We're going to be chatting today about the lost map, the internal map that all of us know is there, but very few of us are taught how to access. We live in a world of overflowing information, yet every one of us seems to be starving for meaning. People feel disconnected not because they lack purpose, but because they were never given the internal map that explains their identity, their cycles, their tendencies, or their evolution. For thousands of years, humans relied on pattern sciences, systems built from long-term observation. Astrology and numerology weren't created as beliefs, they were created as data sets. Ancient astronomers tracked planetary cycles for centuries. Early mathematicians documented numerical archetypes across cultures. These systems were humanity's first attempt to understand the internal architecture of consciousness. But then modern science came in, and as it advanced, something subtle happened. We began prioritizing only what could be measured externally and ignoring what could be measured internally. Only what could be seen through a microscope or telescope mattered. Only what could be qualified in a lab was considered truth. And in that shift, we lost the sciences that mapped the inside, and we focused primarily on the ones that mapped the outside. The inside cycles are the ones that explain the way you think, the way you feel, the way you function the way you do, and why your life unfolds in cycles. Today, we are reclaiming that map, and we're going to do it with some science, and we're going to do it also with some knowledge for each one of you to take with you so that you can understand that you have the power to really decode the internal structure of your entire being and step into that true nature with your own knowledge every step of the way. First, pattern science, the bridge between ancient and modern. Humans are pattern-driven organisms. Our brains are literally built for pattern recognition, a function supported by the NIH-funded cognitive research showing that human brains use predictive coding to interpret reality. It's just what they do. There's a reason our brains do that as well. Our brains do that because we know internally how we can create an understanding of our actual structure and of what we are. This is where ancient systems and modern science met. Astrology as observational science. So NASA openly acknowledges that ancient civilizations were highly accurate sky observers. Now, how could they be highly accurate sky observers if they had no tools? They tracked the planetary motions with surprising precision, long before any modern instruments. That's not mysticism. That's early astronomy. Astrology emerged from the observations of how certain cosmic cycles would affect human cycles. There was a correlation our ancients saw, so they could tell when there were certain alignments based on the behaviors of humans on the planet. And then we have numerology as symbolic mathematics. Numbers have always carried meaning. Mathematicians from Pythagoras to modern symbolic systems theorists recognize that numbers behave like archetypes. Repeating patterns show up in nature, physics, and human behavior. Quantum physics creates a modern bridge to a lot of these understandings by giving us three concepts that make astrology and numerology scientifically accessible if you need that external validation for it. First is frequency. Everything vibrates, including identity, which means a number has a frequency to it. It means that a frequency of an alignment has an energy to it. Quantum physics also talks about non-locality. Information is not limited by distance. It also talks about emergence. Small inputs create large patterns. These concepts don't prove astrology or numerology. They simply show that the universe operates through patterns, resonance, and correlation, not randomness, which means that everything taking place around you has a purpose and a meaning. And once you begin looking at those things that are taking place as being meaningful, you're going to become more acutely aware of how to detect the patterns involved within them and use that to your advantage. Our own government does research on these cycles. So the NOAA and NASA both study solar cycles, lunar cycles, and geomagnetic activity, all of which have documented effects on health, sleep patterns, mood regulation, circadian rhythms, and biological cycles. NIH research confirms that humans respond to light cycles, seasonal cycles, and environmental rhythms. So if the external cycles affect your biology, wouldn't that indicate that the internal cycles affect your identity? That they can influence the way that you think, that you feel, and essentially help you decode your life's purpose? Next, we're going to chat about astrology as cosmic behavioral analytics. So astrology is not fortune telling, like a lot of people like to think it is, and like science likes to put it out there to be, and like the modern way of thinking about it in our culture tries to push. It's actually a pattern mapping system built from thousands of years of observational data. So our planetary cycles actually act as macro circadian rhythms. Just as your body follows a 24-hour circadian rhythm, the Earth follows a lunar cycle, a solar cycle, a seasonal cycle, and a magnetic cycle. NASA and NOAA track these constantly. Astrology simply adds one more layer: human emotion and behavioral cycles that correlate with these cosmic cycles. That doesn't seem like that far of a stretch when you look at it like that, especially since our ancients were able to tell what alignments were taking place solely by the way human behavior was showing itself on the planet. And they could do that with extreme precision. The reason for that is because both of them interlocked and shift each other. They influence each other. They're part of a bigger system, an external one and an internal one combined. Therefore, things like your birth chart can really help you understand your internal architecture. Your chart is a snapshot of the sky at your birth at the moment of cosmic frequency. And let's take a step back. Nothing happens by accident. And those alignments that are taking place have an effect on behavioral energy on the planet. So when you chose to enter this planet, there has to be parts of that you brought with you in order to create a wholeness and a synergy within the soul that you are. Birth charts map your default emotional settings, your decision-making style, your relationship tendencies, your strengths, your challenges, and your evolutionary path. These are not deterministic. It's descriptive. It's like understanding your operating system. Why astrology works as a pattern system is because humans are rhythmic beings. We have a code. We have a frequency. And each one of us has an individual signature that is like a hum underneath the surface of our existence, dying to come to life. Numerology, on the other hand, acts as a mathematical identity. So numerology is symbolic mathematics, not superstition. Numbers have archetypes, just like they always had across cultures and scientific systems. There are numerological patterns throughout all of our understanding, even in science, that lead us to results. Numerological archetypes in nature are seen as repeating patterns everywhere. We have the Fibonacci sequence, golden ratio, fractional geometry, atomic structure, musical harmonics. Numbers carry meaning because they carry patterns. So your numerological data, your life path number, that's your core identity, it's your archetype. Your expression number, that's your behavior coding. Your soul urge number, that's your internal motivation system. Your birth date number, that's your identity signature. Together, they all form your numerological DNA, a mathematical map in which you operate. So let's pan out for a second for everyone out there who needs the research. And we're going to chat about government-supported math research. The National Science Foundation funds research on symbolic systems, mathematical archetypes, pattern-based recognition, numerological modeling of behavior. This is the same foundation that numerology rests on, numbers as patterns that describe behaviors. So what do you do with all of this? This is the most important piece. You have this blueprint in front of you. And this is what I talk about with so many clients of mine and what a lot of my private sessions are centered on. Astrology is going to give you your cosmic architecture. Numerology is going to give you your mathematical identity. Astrology gives you the soul level frequency that you came in with. Numerology gives you the real life data of how that's going to play out in your life. And together, they build a multidimensional blueprint, a map of consciousness. This blueprint explains the way you think the way you do, why you attract certain relationships, why you repeat certain patterns, why certain seasons feel heavy or expansive, why your purpose feels like a pull instead of a choice, why your evolution follows specific cycles, why you continuously make the same mistakes. This system is something I use in my private practice all the time, not to predict your life, but to decode your identity. And after doing this for almost 2 decades, for thousands of people, I have seen these patterns play out over and over again, which is why I want to share all of this with you so that you can understand the importance of being able to look at yourself as a holistic being and also know that there's an algorithm to that wholeness that you are capable and able to decode. Who wouldn't want to do that? When people understand their blueprint, they stop fighting themselves. They stop forcing what isn't aligned. They stop living reactively and they start living intentionally. They start evolving consciously. They start becoming coherent. So I hope that this entire session has helped you to gain a little bit more of a perspective on the power of both numerology and astrology and what they can do for you and how they can shift you into a different mindset. There is more research than I can possibly go into on one podcast without most of you falling asleep that you can definitely take the time out to look at for yourself. But having that information, I can't describe to you as imperative enough in order to help you evolve, in order to help you step into the knowledge-based system that's necessary for you to grow in a way that cuts corners, that makes it so you have what you need so that you can move forward faster and more streamlined. It is truly my belief that everyone should have this information because it's a wonderful platform to understand how you can achieve the best result in every aspect of your life and also know yourself deeper and not know yourself deeper so that you live a certain way or feel a certain way or you can get locked into being a certain being so that you have the power to know how to change the things that you feel stuck at. You have the ability to make that shift on your own. And that is something that I have ran my practice on for decades. And I will always continue to do because it's beautiful to watch a soul evolve. It's one of the most incredible experiences that anybody could ever have the opportunity to in their life. So taking a moment to light that candle is always a beautiful thing. And I wanted to light that candle for all of you today. As always, at the end of every single one of our episodes, we have a short guided talk down where we integrate the energy that we chatted about and we allow you to open up and settle into some of these frequencies. Because remember, everything has a pattern. Everything has a frequency. Everything has a flow. Everything has a vibration. So as we do these talk downs, I'm allowing you to expand your mind and your consciousness to accept the things that we just talked about each and every week so that they can become integrated parts of your soul's knowledge. So I invite you to take a moment to take a deep breath and let your shoulders soften. Let your breath fall out of you and let your system settle into the truth of what you are. Take a deep breath in. And with that breath, allow the thought, you are patterned to flow through your body. You are intentional. You are coded with meaning. Feel the weight of your legs. Feel the warmth of your hands. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. Feel the quiet intelligence of your body and your soul. You are a blueprint. You're a design, a frequency, a vibration, a pattern of consciousness expressed through form. You are not meant to live life in confusion. You are meant to live life in coherence. Let this awareness move through your body. The crown, the eyes, the jaw, the throat, the heart, the stomach, the pelvis, the hips, down to your knees, all the way down to your feet. Feel how your system responds when you stop forcing and start remembering. You were born with an internal map. You were born with a cosmic signature. You were born with numerological DNA. And you were born with purpose. Take one more breath in, and as you exhale, imagine your entire life aligning. Not perfectly, but truthfully. You are allowed to understand yourself. You are allowed to choose to evolve. And you are allowed to lead your life from the inside out instead of the outside in. Take one more deep breath in. And as you breathe out, remember, trust your design, trust your blueprint, and trust your evolution. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Jillian Greyse Show. If you are interested in taking a peek at your hybrid numerology and astrology report, that is something that I do on a regular basis for hundreds of people all over the world. So I will put a link to that in the bottom of this podcast. And of course, if you want to continue to expand your learning, I will also put a link to our private newsletter for you to sign up with, where you can get tips, deeper information, and powerful knowledge each week to help you expand. Until next week, my name is Jillian Greyse, and I'll chat with you soon. Let this episode settle into your system. And if someone in your life is moving through their own patterns or stepping into their next level, send this episode to them. The vibration you're integrating becomes stronger when it's shared. And if you feel called, liking the show or leaving a review helps this work to reach people who are meant to find it. I'm Jillian Greyse, and I'll meet you in the next episode as we keep rebuilding the blueprint that you were always meant to live from.